Okay, so we're back, and this is the final video, part five of my Jim Lee collection. And so hopefully you've watched to the end. And so if you like this collection of mine, feel free to comment. Let me know which Jim Lee books in your collection that maybe you have, maybe ones that you have that I don't, or just ones that are your favorites. I'm sure many of you have the Batman Hush run, and again, I only have 2 issues in that run, and I am focused on trying to get more because I think that's again some of his best work. I do have the graphic novel. When I got it at a bookstore. I should say the trade paperback. But I don't have the individual issues. So in my last video, I started to mention the issue with collecting Jim Lee books, and essentially what the issue is when he does a book. So that Batman Hush run, that it was sort of his return to, Batman. It was highly publicized. It was a widely sold issue, but I don't know what the print runs on that. The print runs on that series was, but the issue when Jim Lee does a book, it's a high profile event. So whether he's doing a book at DC or he's doing a book at Marvel, these are books that are going to move. Books that are going to sell. They're wanted by collectors at the time, and the company. So the publishers know that, and the comic shops know that, and so a lot of orders are placed. A lot of the books are produced. They're massively produced, overproduced, and Jim Lee, really the bulk of his work has been, during that sort of comic speculation boom era where they were just printing comic books left and right. And it's somewhat continued even into his time at DC as well. So when he came back to DC, they're like, hey, anytime we put out a Jim Lee book, it's going to sell. So let's try to sell as many as possible. And so they have these elevated high print runs. And what does that do to a value of a book? Well, they're popular. People have them in their collections, but ultimately there's this sort of abundant supply. There's no rarity, and therefore the value of the books don't appreciate. So in terms of investment, in terms of, he's a popular artist, but there's a lot of, I don't think people collect him at the level and the fervor that I do. A lot of people just have Jim Lee books in their collection, and they'll have keys here and there, but they're not focused on getting like he's not an artist that they collect exclusively like I do. So for that specific reason, his books are relatively cheap. They're accessible. You can find them oftentimes. I don't want to say dollar bins because they're kind of like they're a little higher tier than the dollar bins, but I would say like the $2-3 bins will have Jim Lee all day long on any given title or run. In fact, I'm trying to pick up his Justice League stuff in the under dollar bins. because a lot of them are produced. They're not particularly sought after. I find them from time to time at half price books for, like $1 or $2. So that's fine. I'm glad as a collector, that's fine for me because I'm not necessarily going to sell the books. It's just kind of like, it's what I like. He's an artist I like. And I think for me, the ultimate grail or the ultimate objective is to, and this is a difficult objective because his original art is highly sought after. And so we're talking like, his original art's going to be tens of thousands of dollars. That's way out of my price range. But at some point, when I have a collection that I feel like, oh, okay, I pretty much have all the Jim Lee books that I've wanted, even though there might be, issues here and there missing, holes in runs and whatnot. Like, for example, I'm not focused on a lot of his Image stuff. I think maybe I'll get to a point where I'll like, okay, let's focus on Image stuff now, but I don't necessarily view his Image stuff as stuff I want in the collection. It's mainly, the DC, the Marvel stuff. I do want to pick up a copy of more copies of, we'll get into it in a minute, more copies of certain books in this pile here. And also the Samurai Santa, his first work. So that's a grail, but that's still fairly affordable. It's not like you can pick it up for $100, $200 raw. So the real grail for me is getting an original. So once I have that collection, and I guess the opportunity has to be the bright one. I just want to buy an original piece of art. It doesn't have to be anything flashy, just a panel of something of his, and I'm sure it'll pop up on eBay at some point. But pick it up in an auction or at a price I think is reasonable. I'm probably gonna have to pay several $1,000s for it, but that's the grail. So that's the cherry on top. So when I've amassed this Jim Lee collection, the cherry on top will be the original art, Jim Lee art. Hopefully I can get a remark, something where he draws, and those go for, like $400, I think, from CGC, if you want to get like a remark. And that's original art. That's something he did. But what I'm talking is like an original comic panel. So something from the books. That would be the ultimate grail. Again, super expensive, highly sought after, probably maybe something that may or may not happen. Hopefully, if my son, takes up collecting and that's something he could put on his bucket list if I never get around to it. But that's his work. Again, maybe the prices fluctuate here and there, but right now, as of now, given Jim Lee's status and whatnot, getting an original piece of comic panel art might be an impossibility at this point, but one can dream. And if you have a dream, it's something you work towards. So anyway, getting back to this stack of books. So these are kind of the books that are for me, have a little bit higher value, are not as prevalent. You don't see them all that often at comic book shops. These are kind of, I guess, harder to find books. and books of more value. So I talked before, Jim Lee books, again, they're mass produced, they're not of particular value, but there are certain keys, there are certain covers that comic book collectors do seek. And the three that are, so one in particular, so the first X-Men run, that's at CGC, like I said, it's a signed copy. It's going to come back, signature series. We're waiting on that. And then the other one is the Batman 612, the second print, the variant cover where he's on, on top of the building with the on top, standing on the gargoyle statue there. So that is actually like one of the higher, probably, I want to say it's maybe his highest priced book. I'm sure there are variant covers, like low print run variant covers and whatnot, that may be higher priced. But from my knowledge of just stuff he's produced that are like, continuity, I believe that's the highest priced. And again, that one's at CGC. It's going to come back signed. It's going to be worth a very pretty penny when I get it. And that's not going anywhere ever. That's never being sold. So anyway, this is something I picked up recently. I didn't even know it existed, but I'm so glad I have it. This is a Wizard. This is, I believe, a 1996 production. 95, is it? 96. Yeah, 1996. It's a tribute edition to Jim Lee, and I got to see some of the interior pages online, and just beautiful. It's just showcasing stuff all the work he's done from past to present, including the new stuff he was doing at the time for Fantastic Four and all the Image stuff. So yeah, so happy to pick up this. It's really what, if you collect Jim Lee, this is a must-have right here. And I'm hoping I can get a better, so it came in a poly bag with like a poster. I'm hoping to get a poly bag version. But this one's not the highest grade, so if I don't get the poly bag version, at least maybe a graded copy or something in higher condition. Okay, this is another one that I got off eBay, and I wasn't happy with. So when I got it off eBay, I thought the issue here would be something that could get pressed out, but turns out it can. It's color breaking, and it's a pretty significant increase. I don't know if you can see it at the top here, but there's a crease right here. And so when I saw that, I reached out to the buyer and I said, look, I'm going to return this unless you can work out some kind of negotiation, because I did still want the book. I was disappointed it wasn't high grade. So I ended up paying, I think, like $4 for this. They basically gave me a full refund minus like shipping or something like that. So that's fine. And so this is sort of like a placeholder. I do want to pick up a higher grade copy. I want to pick up multiple copies of this, because this is another feature of Jim Lee. Jim Lee's on the cover right here. And also that's the new Psylocke. It's a great cover. It's just a fun cover. Marvel Age, I think there are certain, Marvel Age, I think is going to become a collecting favorite, because it's just chronicling the Copper Age. And so for Marvel, so it's chronicling all the sort of key events and writers and stories and creatives at Marvel. So yeah, I'm happy to have this, but I want a higher grade, and I wouldn't mind having multiple copies of this. This one sells on eBay for like anywhere between like 30 to like $50. I don't want to pay that much. So hopefully I can find it in the wild. I'm sure I'll be able to find it in a long box somewhere for like under $10. So I haven't up to this point. I haven't up to this point, but that's what I'm hoping. So I'm sure the next Comic-Con that this is I'm going to be focused on trying to find this in long boxes. Okay, moving on. We have so we have this iconic cover I've mentioned in videos before. This is, I think, one of the most iconic comic book images to come out of the 90s. It's a classic image. You know, so people often point to, like, if you talk about just iconic covers, there's a bunch. And they're all high, you know, so this is the thing, like they're all high value books like ASM 300, McFarlane, Venom cover, iconic. You know, Amazing Fantasy 15, another iconic cover. It's just that image is seared into people's minds. The Deadpool cover, G.I. Joe silent issue cover. These are like, you know, and obviously, you know, early gold, any kind of golden age, any kind of silver age, key books, you know, like all the like, you know, Fantastic Four #1, Fantastic Four #5, ASM 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, like you can just go down the list. So there's just all these like classic comics where the images are just fine works of art. I mean, like, you know, you can put them up in a gallery and everybody's going to recognize, oh, right off the bat. You don't even have to put, you know, any kind of, it could be just a virgin picture of it, and people are going to know the issue and the run. So this, Jim Lee didn't do anything outside of the cover on this one. There's no interior art of that, but this image has been on like a video game. It's been on t-shirts. It's even Jim Lee has recycled this image in panels. And so this is about as iconic a Wolverine image as I think exists out there. So one of my favorite covers. And I definitely want to pick up some more copies of this. We'll get it. I want to get a 9.8 of this, but they're pretty pricey at the moment. So I mentioned I had 58. So I think I mentioned that was the third book in it. I was completely wrong. That's a later run. 52 is Jim Lee's first issue of Alpha Flight. And 52, the cover is actually not done by Jim Lee. 52 has his first interior art on Alpha Flight, and that's his first real Marvel book, Alpha Flight 52. So for people who, you know, want to collect Jim Lee's first work in Marvel, go after Alpha Flight 52. That's his first work in Marvel. And this is his first cover for Marvel. So for me, if you're going to get something slabbed, this is probably, I mean, you know, his first artwork in Marvel is great, but if you get that slabbed, you're not going to be able to enjoy or appreciate that artwork. So the next best thing is actually this cover. And this is actually his first, Wolverine cover. So I mentioned here, you can see the evolution. This is rookie year Jim Lee doing Wolverine. And it's a cool Wolverine. Kind of silly. It's kind of coming out of the body there of that character. But this is like Jim Lee, you know, all-star prime Jim Lee, where he's scoring 40 points a game, triple-double every other week. You know, so this copy here is, you see the evolution, like from this to this, and then if you take a look at what he's doing now, I think you'll even see a progression and an evolution in his work now. As I don't want to say this is his peak, because I think as an artist, your peak is continuing, you know, like it continues to go up until your actual, like your physical ability to draw gets affected, which, you know, doesn't happen until much later for most people. Yeah, Jim Lee's continues to be at the top of his game. So I don't want to say this is his prime, but this is definitely like his all-star years. Here's another early book. He did, and there's a, you know, issue 6, and I want to give another shout out to a comic book worm. He has Punisher War Journal number 6, the one with Wolverine in his claws, sort of in a cross, a cross pose. That is one I want to pick up. I want to pick up a lot of the ones in this Punisher War Journal run, and I'm focused on specific books in this run, but hopefully I can pick them all up. But number 6 is definitely one I'm focused on, and I'm also focused on some others. And they're all relatively cheap. That number 6 though is a little bit more expensive, and I think people who follow Jim Lee's work, they know that that's a cover that they want. I think it's just a popular cover all around because it's Wolverine. It's because it's Jim Lee. So yeah, that one has somewhat value, but I think I can pick it up, you know, under $10. So yeah, a comic bookworm, if you're listening and you're watching and you want to maybe trade for that book or sell it to me for a reasonable price, I'm open to it. I'd love to get that book. I'm gonna try to find it in the wild, or I don't want to get it off eBay, because eBay, again, you tend to pay more on eBay for it, unless I'm not to say that there aren't deals on eBay, but the deals on eBay are always going to be within like a higher price range anyway. So you're only paying like maybe 15 to 10% off something that's selling at market value. So when I say I want to find it on the cheap, is like in a dollar bin somewhere, or, you know, like for a few bucks. So that's still a real possibility with number 6 here. I did overpay for this one in particular, because this is like a $5 book, but I traded and it was priced at $10. I had no control over that. This is another Pride and Joy. This one I bought. I didn't get signed. I bought it signed. There's a COA with it, but it's his old school signature, like his 90s signature. So this was signed around the time this probably was published. I want to say it was probably signed in like the mid 90s, because, you know, you signed a lot of books to promote the Image company at that point. So I'm sure it got signed at a Comic-Con somewhere during the 90s. Really good condition. Hope to get it slabbed at some point. But again, his old school signature in gold there. Just a beautiful cover. I love that copy. And we also have the Magneto variant. And as you know, I recently picked this one up, X-Men 11. I love this cover as well. So I mentioned, you know, Jim Lee, when he started this X-Men run here, he came with a redesign for the X-Men. And so you'll see Rogue, Storm, Psylocke, Cyclops, Gambit, Colossus to a certain extent, I think. There are a few tweaks here and there. And Jubilee, Jubilee is a character he kind of gave some twists on her costume as well, and that kind of evolved, but it ends up manifesting in X-Men 1 again. But that's the design and look you get in the X-Men animated series. So by the time Jim Lee launches this is a 92, this is his last, this is actually his last book on the X-Men, issue 11. This is the look that gets adopted into the animated series. And so he kind of hands it off, and that team, those teams, the costumes, the design, that will forever be the 90s iconic look of the X-Men. So you can thank Jim Lee for that, and is why that previous book is so special. Okay, so I've got 612, like I mentioned, and this is this is 612. 608 is the second print. 608 is the one at CGC. I'm waiting to get that back. This is my second book in the Batman Hush. So I only have 2 books out of that entire run, 612. But this is another book that sells generally for like 30 to 40 bucks. This is a high grade copy. I think if I do get this slabbed, it'll come back. It'll come back at 9.6 for sure. Could come back at 9.8. That's what we're hoping. And so at some point, I'll send this in. So the ones I want to get slabbed for Jim Lee is this one, and this my signed copy here. Those are 3. Hopefully we'll get to send into CDC at some point. I want to get my books back before I send more books in. And they raise the rate, so it's kind of like you begrudgingly have to send them, knowing that they're just a little bit more. I think they raised the modern tier grading by $5. They kept. It's nice of them to keep the cleaning and pressing rates the same, but the fact that the grading costs more is a bit of an annoyance. And then, yeah, I mentioned in other videos my love for this cover. This is a collaboration between Jim Lee and Alex Ross, and it's just a beautiful Alex Ross style, but you could see that they're Jim Lee characters, right? So I love this cover here. It's got all the AC Justice League heroes on the cover. Beautiful. And yeah, that pretty much covers my Jim Lee collection. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope, maybe there were some books in there that were new to you, that you didn't know. And if you collect Jim Lee, I'd love to connect with you. So if you collect Jim Lee books like I do and are focused on that, I'd love to, with you and see your collection or hear about your collection. And even if it's not Jim Lee, maybe it's maybe you're an X-Men collector, maybe you're a Punisher War Journal collector. If you've got something by Jim Lee that you collect because you collect a different title, love to hear about it. Let me know, comment, hit the like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. This channel is really about my comic journey, and I feel like especially with the Jim Lee books, I've come a long way in my collecting, and a lot of these books I've picked up in the past year. So I don't know how much I'll be able to spend on books this year. I am kind of on a tight budget. In fact, because I've spent a lot picking up a lot of these books, I am limited to what I can spend this year. So I'm kind of saving up some money, and I'm hoping to go to Emerald City Comic Con again come fall with a checklist of stuff I want, and most of it will be Jim Lee books. I think at this point there's a few issues of Spider-Man, a few issues of I think outside of the Jim Lee books, there's a few issues of Spider-Man, Silver to Bronze Age Spider-Man that I want to pick up, and that's about it. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, hopefully you like what you're, the content that you're seeing, and you decide to follow me on my journey, and thank you for doing that. And so we'll end my video here, and thank you for watching.